Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar. You're here at the Learn CST Level 2 and 3, what to expect on the CST exam webinar series. As you can see, it's my pleasure today to introduce our lead presenter and also our lead instructor, Glenn Thoreau. Glenn's going to run through some basics, maybe some stuff you might already know about the CST exam and how to go about arranging it, setting it up for yourself, options beyond level 2, level 3. But at the same time, we're hoping to elicit your input today. Stick around for the Q&A session at close. You don't necessarily have to have a question. We're open to suggestions. Glenn and I have agreed that some of the material you'll find in today's PowerPoint is basic, but it's all key to going about arranging your exam, covering all the bases. But know that a recording of today's presentation, the slide deck, a PDF, will be made available to you. In fact, you can download the slide deck now, in addition to our spring semester's prospectus in the handout section of the doc on the right side there. You can grab those, or you can wait for the email, which will come tomorrow at 1 o'clock, follow-up with additional links and a link to the recording of this presentation. So you'll notice I mentioned the prospectus. The prospectus outlines that we've moved to a quarterly format with Learn CST. And we found that that's better for a variety of reasons. You do not have to stick to the quarterly format or follow it, but it provides suggested guidelines as to completion of our quizzes, which we'll outline in today's PowerPoint, and completion material and quizzes. But as we move into quarter 3 and quarter 4, we have additional resources planned, additional topics, discussions that we'll address via added speakers, additional content modules, and additional exciting stuff that we feel will be beneficial. But with that in mind, please share any thoughts, suggestions, questions with us today. You can share throughout the presentation or at the end, whatever's best for you. So without further ado, looks like most of our attendees are here. I will hand it over to Mr. Thoreau. Glenn, I'm going to hand you keyboard, mouse, and control here so you can manage the presentation. And then I'm also going to mute myself, but we'll be here. Holler if you need anything.
Very good. Thank you so much, Alan, and good morning or good afternoon, as the case may be. First of all, thank you so much for attending the webinar. What it tells me is that you're serious about advancing your careers in surveying, and in that regard, you're in the right spot. I can't emphasize enough the importance of getting certification on your career paths, because what it's going to show to everyone involved is your level of commitment to your own career advancement, and also to the benefit of the companies who might be considering hiring you. For those of you who are already employed in the industry, you're showing your employer just how important your career is to not only you but to the company itself. So your attendance here today, I think, shows that. Now I'm going to make a couple of assumptions here which may or may not be true. This is going to deal with level 2 and 3. I'm going to assume that some of you have already taken level 1 or level 2, and you want to advance into a level 2 or level 3 respectively. But that's all right if you're not. Some of you probably have enough experience and education to move right into level 2 and level 3, and you're skipping level 1 altogether. That's fine. Only you can gauge where you're at as far as your skill level. So as I go through this, I'm going to kind of skip some of the preliminary stuff that I talk to when we deal with level 1, and talk a little bit more about the finer points of level 2 and 3. So again, let me tell you very quickly a little bit about myself. I'm a licensed surveyor. I'm also a certified federal surveyor, and I have enjoyed my career in surveying immensely, and want to be able to pass some of that joy, if you will, to people who are in the industry currently, in the profession currently, or may be considering a career in surveying. Many of the students on the Learn CST site are choosing surveying as a second career, and that's great. That's admirable. They've seen some things in the profession that is very appealing to them, and they have decided to make the switch. So no matter where you are on the continuum, again, thanks for participating in the webinar and for choosing surveying as a possible potential career. All right, so let's see if we can advance this. And there we are. All right, so level 1, we all know, some of you have taken it, some of you have thought that you don't need to. That's fine. Level 1 has no requirements for entry. But let's talk about levels 2 and 3 for just a moment. Now, level 2 does have a requirement of 1.5 years of experience. But for those of you who are currently enrolled or have finished some sort of academic program where you have 65 transcripted credit hours, 18 of which are in core surveying courses, and if you have 6 months experience, you can bypass that 1.5 years of total experience. So what the program is basically saying is that we're going to count your educational efforts as part of this requirement for level 2. So, so if you've got that, degree program, or you can show transcripted hours, 18 of which are in surveying, you only need 6 months of work experience. But that work experience should be 40 hours a week. Okay, so level 2 is adding the requirement. Going to level 3, you need 3.5 years of progressive experience. And by progressive, we mean that when you document your experience level, it's not 1 year of experience repeated 3.5 times. There is natural progressive responsibility that goes along with your work experience. And again, if you have those 65 transcripted hours, 18 hours in surveying, you can get by with 2.5 years of full-time employment, which is considered 40 hours a week. Now, level 4, which we do not at this time have a level 4 class on the Learn CST site. There's a number of reasons for that, because level 4 is a much different kind of program than the other levels. That level 4, as you see, will require 5.5 years of experience, but you must already be a level 3 surveyor before you can ask to be admitted to the level 4 exam. Now, the level 4 is different in that it's a take-home exam, that you're going to be sent a packet, and when you open that packet, there's going to be some questions involved, and you're going to actually do a narrative in your response when you go and return your packet. So that's very difficult to treat on a kind of website by Learn CST, but who knows, that perhaps at some point in the future we may feel comfortable in trying to address some of that aspect of a level 4 as well. But let's today just to concentrate on level 2 and 3. And of course, when you go around the nation and you go into a prospective employer and you tell them, I'm level 3 CST certified, that employer should appreciate the competency and level skill that you've obtained. You're telling that you have a knowledge base that they can rely on, and so it's basically helping you augment your current resumes, but also you're burnishing your resumes, but you're also offering prospective employers or your current employer, if you're seeking advancement within your current company, that you have taken the time and the trouble and studied and taken this exam and you're certified now. Now, let's not confuse certification with licensure, because licensure is basically a state-granted ticket to work in the profession within your respective state, but certification is, I think, the next best thing, particularly if you are on the road to licensure and you want to take it in graduated steps towards taking the fundamentals of surveying exam and then possibly the principles and practices exam, that this is a good milestone working toward those goals. So again, it does demonstrate your commitment to the profession and your seriousness to your prospective employer or your current employer. What about costs? All right, I think many of you may know this, but it's been reduced a little bit. It's now $180 for individuals, but if you're a student at a university or community college that can show your enrollment, you can go for $120. And again, if your company has 10 or more applicants, you can get group discounts. So we always encourage companies to take an active role in the education of their employees because it's to their benefit, and many of them know that. And they're active, they're keen on getting their people into these kinds of certification programs. And so they will sponsor their organization. They'll have that 10 or more, and they'll get a group discount, plus they're able to better coordinate the actual administration of the exam, and it works to everyone's advantage. The one thing to point out is that certification, you keep it active from year to year, and so you simply renew your status, and we can answer and help you with those sorts of things as well. Now here is probably one of the most important things about levels 2 and 3. Both levels are offered on a paper or online format, and the online format, I think, is the way to go. Now some folks simply do not have that capability or choose not to. For instance, you may be enrolled in some sort of academic program at a community college or university level, and the professor, the instructor, may decide to use the CST Level 2 or Level 3 exam as an exit competency exam, and so they may prefer to administer in class the exam in a paper format. So that's quite understandable. And some individuals decide they're much more comfortable with a paper format rather than an online format. But I believe that online format is the way to go for a number of reasons, the most important of which is that you have much more flexibility in your scheduling. So just keep that in mind. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. So level 1 is 4 hours, but level 2 and level 3 are 6 hours. Level 2 is 180 questions. Level 3 is 150 questions. Longer time, less questions. That should tell you something about the nature of these exams. They become exponentially more difficult as you progress. So even on an earlier slide, it said that even licensed surveyors can take these level exams, level 2, level 3, or level 4. Surprisingly, some licensees have difficulties negotiating those exams. So it's not a walk in the park by any stretch of the imagination, and you must adequately prepare yourself in order to take these level 2 and level 3 exams. They are particularly good if, as I mentioned earlier, your progression is leading towards the fundamentals of surveying exam. You will find this is excellent preparatory work in that regard. If you fail, you have to pay the exam fee again. If you want to retest within 1 year time. And yeah, so there's no second chances here as far as paying the price for the administration of the exam. Typically, passing grade is 70%, and it kind of hovers around there. So if you get your results immediately as far as how you did on the test, but keep in mind that even if you fall below that 70% mark, that you're not automatically failed, because the cut score is determined by a number of different factors, and the CST board meets and determines the cut score, part of which is based on challenges that they receive from the test takers. You will have an opportunity, if you feel that there's an exam question that is either wrong or misleading, or that there are multiple answers that could be considered correct, you can challenge that question in writing when you finish your exam. You'll be given that opportunity. Your challenge will be considered by the CST board, and that board may say there's some validity to that, and if so, that cut score can actually move down. So that's why you see that cut score. It could be pending if you got between 66 and 69%. Now, if you got less than 65% or less, you can just plan on taking the exam again, because I've never seen a cut score go below 66%. Because these exams have been thoroughly vetted and challenged in the past, and questions are constantly being revised and rewritten. But at this point in time, the challenges basically are basically not valid in the sense that the submitter might think it. One point I would like to make is that you don't want to spend an inordinately amount of time writing up a challenge to a question, because that's going to cut down on the amount of time that you have during the exam. Now, if you can retain what your challenge was and write it after the fact, that's fine. But I've noticed that some exam takers stop taking the exam to write out lengthy responses, challenges to a question, and that's using up precious time. So just keep that in mind. But if you have a legitimate challenge, by all means, let's challenge the question, and the board will give it all due serious consideration. All right. I mentioned earlier online exams, which I thought were preferable to the paper and pencil, because online exams are offered any weekday. All you need to do is arrange that time and appropriate place on a weekday between the hours of 8 and 5. But if you're not able to do that, let's say your employer won't give you the time off, or you simply cannot fit it into your schedule, the second Saturday of each month, the exam will also be made available online. And so there is a great benefit to that, because we have students from all over the country, some of whom are in rather remote locations. And to help facilitate the exam, this online format is quite flexible. So as far as where your exam site is, it could be in a library with computer capabilities, as long as your proctor can also be there. So who is a proctor? Well, a college instructor, a professional engineer, another land surveyor, but not your immediate supervisor. So if there are 8 or 9 of you that are working in a particular office, and that office is headed by a lead land surveyor or registered land surveyor, that person cannot serve as the proctor, because that person would not be a disinterested third party. But as long as you have someone else within that organization, let's say you have an HR department or something like that, that I think is perfectly fine. And the proctor, there's a proctor application that is filled out by the prospective proctor. That proctor is approved, the location is approved, and then the exam is administered at the appropriate time. Now, if you want a paper exam, you can take it, you have to go to basically a suitable testing center or some other area. I mentioned a library, that's great, although it's got, that proctor has to be someone that takes an active view of what you're doing. It can't be somebody who leaves you in a locked room and then walks away and comes back in 4 hours to let you out. That proctor has to be engaged as you go along. So let's talk about calculator policies. As you can imagine, the exams are, the security of the exams are very important to the CST board. And as such, they will not allow certain types of calculators to be in the room with you. And I'll tell you right off the bat, the HP 41s and the HP 48s are not allowed. So some of you may be very experienced, particularly if you've been working in the industry. You've got your old reliable HP 48. Some of you probably date back to the HP 41s. And if that's the case, just remember you're going to need to learn how a different kind of calculator works. But it's very important that no matter what your allowed calculator is, that you understand completely how that calculator functions. I remember when I used to teach, I would go over some mathematical problems on the board, and then afterwards somebody would come up and say, well, how do I do that on my calculator? My response to them was, you know, I only know how my calculator works for sure. It's up to you to learn how your calculator works. So if you're currently familiar with the HP 48 or some other kind of calculator that is clearly prohibited by the calculator policy, now is the time to go out and invest in another type of calculator. And there's excellent calculators out there that do qualify. But the point is that the QWERTY key, the QWERTY key, keyboard things, those kinds of calculators are not allowed, and you cannot use your cell phones. Anything that can take a picture or anything that has an internet connection is not allowed, and your proctor will have been told what the calculator policy is, and they will enforce it. So please keep that in mind before you go into your testing center or you go into your computer to take your exam. So I don't think I need to labor that any further. Now, I wanted to tell you that preparation is so critical. And as I mentioned before, there are actually licensed surveyors who thought that they were going to be able to just come in and take the exam, and they found themselves hard-pressed because many of us who have been licensed, we've basically sat back on our laurels for all of these years, and then when we are actually tested, we find that we have not adequately prepared. So if it's true for us as licensed surveyors, it's certainly going to be true for those of you who have been in the industry. You may have been working in the industry for 2 to 3 years, but that does not mean that that makes you automatically prepared to take this exam, and hence that's why we've got that Learn CST site. It's to help get you reacclimated to a testing environment, and it's crucially important. You have got to work your way through the work elements in such a way that you're going to be able to navigate the entire exam within the 6-hour time period for CSTs level 2 and 3. It has to be very deliberate, and it has to be very focused on the questions at hand. So I cannot emphasize enough that it's up to you to prepare yourself for these exams. The CST site is a wonderful tool to help you with that. I am here to help you with that, but the ultimate responsibility is yours. Now, it is an open book exam, but that doesn't mean that because it's open book that's all you need to do is make sure you take your books with you. But books do help you, and we're going to make a suggestion on 3 references. As a matter of fact, I'll do it right now. 3 kinds of books that you want to have with you when you go into these exams. The first one is going to be any kind of a surveying textbook, and there's a lot of them out there. I like Elementary Surveying by Wolf and Gianni. I've used that for quite some time. It's in its 14th edition right now, but there are other editions out there that are equally good, and you might be able to pick up a 12th or 13th edition online at a greatly reduced price. But I'm not trying to sell Elementary Surveying by Gianni and Wolf right now, because there are other ones, and I'm thinking of Kavanaugh. Has an excellent text out there as well. So I'm not pointing you towards one particular textbook, but just have a good overall textbook that you can refer to during the exam. Now, you're obviously not going to have time to read a chapter or try to learn these concepts, but as a refresher or to jog your memory, it's excellent. You would think that when you're in the field, a lot of times you don't have to carry the sum and substance of all the surveying knowledge in your head. You're going to be able, at least I do, to carry a reference book or 2 in the truck and to look up a formula or to reacquaint yourself with a particular concept. So that's why it's an open book exam. And equally important is using the appendix at the back of the book, because you will be able to look up things by terms, by their definition or by concept, and then turn to the appropriate portion of the book that deals with that subject. So understand how appendixes are organized and how you can find materials in your reference book based on an appendix or an index, I should say, an index to the book. So keep that in mind. The other book I would have is Definitions of Surveying and Associated Terms. It was put out by the American Congress of Surveying and Mapping, ACSM, but that's no longer in existence. It has been taken over by NSPS, and they have a 2005 edition of this book that is available either through NSPS or from Amazon. And you will find that extremely helpful when you are taking your exam, to have a copy of that with you. And finally, I would suggest having some sort of manual on first aid. There are a lot of first aid questions, how to, particularly accident, safety, things of this nature. And that first aid manual, and it doesn't have to be an exhaustive study, but just a nice manual, perhaps by the American Red Cross or a similar agency, would be a good thing to have on hand when you are taking the exam. So we are here to help you prepare for the exam. The Learn CST site is there to help you prepare for the exam. I am here to help you prepare for the exam. And anything I can do in that regard, you have my contact information, and I'm going to give it to you at the end of the presentation as well. But just feel free to send me an email or participate in one of the chat sessions that we have. We've got one this afternoon at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and if you go away from our presentation, our webinar today, and you think there are some things I wish he had talked about and he didn't, jump into that chat session, and we will be able to further discuss your area of concern. All right, so I think we've kind of talked about this. Level 3 is currently in a beta, and that's true. There's a lot of material there, but it's kind of different from what you're going to see in Level 2. Level 2 has a quiz at the end of each work element. Level 3 is kind of closer to a classroom format at this point, because what we're doing is offering a chance for you to do some assignments. If you have some time, you do the assignments, you submit them, and we will try to grade them. Now, the assignments for this quarter are due, I should say, on the 26th. That's tomorrow. So, you know, if you've not had a chance to avail yourself of working some of the problems that are there, there'll be an opportunity next quarter again. But it is evolving as we move forward, and each time from quarter to quarter, we're adding better material, we're adding more material, as Alan mentioned at the beginning. So I would encourage you, if you've not had a chance, at least download those assignments. Even if there's not an opportunity to submit them, you're going to see some of the materials that you may be looking at on the exam. Now, the difference is, of course, is that I'm dealing with concepts, you know, in some of the calculations, and the exam itself is going to be multiple choice, but just remember that a lot of these multiple choice questions involve working the calculation or understanding the concept before you're able to successfully answer the question. Again, if you've not downloaded that prospectus that's on the right-hand side of your screen, you please do so now, because that's going to give you a lot of information about the quarterly formats that we're offering. It's going to give you some information about where you should be at a particular point in time in the quarter. It's a lot of good information there, and of course you can get these slides by downloading What to Expect in the spring, or excuse me, What to Expect on the CS2 exam, 2 and 3 exam. So download if you've not done it already. All right, important distinction here. Field, office, or both. You're getting some options here in level 2. And level 2, you can go as a computer operator, which means essentially what that means is you're working in the office, you're understanding software, you are responsible for a product that comes in from the field, or you can go the other route, the route on the left hand, which is the instrument person. Or you can do both. It's 2 separate exams, though. Just remember that. It's 2 separate exams. I do not recommend taking them back to back. I think it would be good for you to set up one, see how you do, and then set up the second one. But some of you may decide you want to go one particular track and not the other, and so you can simply focus and concentrate on that. Level 3, you can do party chief boundary, party chief construction, or both. And again, they're separate exams. But if you find that most of your work that you're currently doing is in the construction field, rather than boundary work, you want to focus on that party chief construction. And consequently, if you're doing very little in construction, but you're basically involved in boundary, go that route. Some of you are saying, well, it depends. On Monday, I'm doing boundary. On Tuesday, I'm in construction. Thursday, I'm back in the office. Well, then you have the opportunity, at least, to advance those skills in all of those categories. Now, at this point, the Learn CST site does not differentiate, but again, as changes go along, there may be some specific areas on the Learn CST site where you'll be able to differentiate these particular tracks, and there's a lot in the offing right now. So this, as it continues to develop, stay tuned, because if you don't see what you're looking for right now, that doesn't mean that it's not going to be there in an upcoming quarter. All right, now work elements. And I would suggest, if you've not done so before we end this, to download these slides, because these slides are going to tell you what to expect on your actual exam. And you'll see that the type of question, I mean the topic, the subject topic that it's dealing with, and the number of questions that you can expect in that topic are there. So again, some are not exclusive to a particular work element. For instance, you might find that you've got some plan reading and preparation questions that you might find them in the field note questions. You might find some field note questions in the field operation questions. So this is just to give you a general sense of what you can anticipate as being on that exam. And I won't spend a lot of time, because I know that you're going to read through this after you've downloaded the materials. And you're going to see a section in the CST book that deals specifically with the PLSS. I said the CST site. There is a PLSS site which is, I believe it's attached to level 1. But if you've skipped level 1 and you're in level 2, there's nothing that prevents you from going back into level 1 and looking at that PLSS workbook that's assigned to that. For those of you in the eastern states, or in one of the states, one of the 30 states that has not been subject to the PLSS, I would recommend that you go back and look at that anyway, because you may see questions concerning the PLSS, even if you're in a meets and bounds state. You may see questions on the actual CST exam that you think, well, I'm in Virginia. What do I care about the way they do things west of the Mississippi River? Well, remember where the future may take you as well. You may end up in a PLSS state. And so that's why these questions are in there, and it's not specific to either Western states or non-Western states, or the 20 states that are not part of the PLSS. So just keep that in mind. But then we try to talk about the various types of surveys, and you'll find some materials that address that as well. And again, if nothing else, you're going to use what you see here and as a catalyst to the areas that you should be looking at in your independent study, using your textbooks or other materials that you have on hand. So remember that the CST site is a great source in pointing you in the right direction, as well as offering materials that deal with these particular topics. And let me advance again. I don't think I wanted to do that. Alan, can you put that back on there, please?
I will, no problem. I jump in there for you.
All right. I'm not sure how I did that, but let's.
I'll get you back. No worries.
Appreciate it. All right. All right. Thank you so much, sir. I think that's good. Sir. All right. Thank you. The work element 3 is very, very important, because the lion's share of the time that you spend on the CST exams are going to be dealing with survey computations. So you need to be very conversant with what the basic premise of the surveying mathematics. Okay, so I would suggest that you learn bearing, distance, intersections, bearing, or distance, intersections are important. Also understand the trigonometric functions and how they apply in particular situations, particular mathematical problems, because you're going to spend a lion's share of your time working on this element. And many of the questions, I think there were, 40 questions for the field, 5 for the office. So obviously, if you're in the office tract, it's not as important as it would be if you're in the field. All right. Again, I don't want to labor these too much because you're going to be able to read these on your own, but control records, data sheets, like the NGS data sheets, how to get them, how to interpret them is an important part of this. Also, accuracy standards are important. So just keep that in mind that you're going to get questions concerning that on the exam. Field operations. Now this says, know how to observe the sun and Polaris for true north determination. That's in the actual work element right now. Many of you are going to say, I've never taken a sun shot. I've never taken a reading on Polaris. I don't need to. I've got GPS. That's true. But have a historical knowledge of where we've been as a profession. Because if you are, for instance, working in a PLSS state and you are following in the footsteps of an earlier survey, that earlier survey may have started, you're reading the notes and it says that they took a sun shot or a Polaris shot to determine a true azimuth. And so you need to have a good concept that what it was that they were doing in order to follow in their footsteps. So just keep that in mind. Just chalk it up to historical perspective. And so even though you may think we never do that anymore, just keep that as an understanding. Okay? Field notes, very important, obviously. What constitutes good field notes? How good field notes are taken? What's contained in field notes? Again, we have a treatment of that on the Learn CST site, and encourage you to dig a little bit deeper. Your office track, 45 questions on plan reading and preparation. Okay, so for those of you who are following in that track, here is a very important work element that you're going to want to focus on. There'll be some field questions, as you see, but there's going to be a bunch of questions about terminology, principles of drafting, including computer-aided drafting CAD. I think there are going to be, as the exams are being refurbished, there could be, although they try to avoid software-specific questions, when you're working in a GIS environment, you're either using QGIS or ArcMap. So just have some understanding of the terminologies and those principles. Not that you have to be an expert in ArcMap, but just understand some of the basic components of GIS, because I believe you're going to see questions that are going to be focused in that area. And again, first aid, particularly for those of you who are level 3 party chief tracks. Although everyone is responsible for safety and first aid in the field, party chiefs in particular need to be able to keep their people out of harm's way and be able to react to any emergency in the field in a proper way. So first aid is an important component in this. Principles of the profession. You are now, particularly folks in level 3, are now entering into what I will call responsibility, professional responsibility. And ethics becomes a very important component in this. And so obviously this is something that we want to test on. And there are some sections on principles of profession in level 2 and level 1 for that matter, but more in level 2. And now let's get to the recommended reading. I had mentioned a couple of textbooks. Again, I'm not endorsing specific textbooks, but if you are heading towards level 3 boundary, you want to have a copy of Brown's Boundary Control and Legal Principles. There are newer, that says 7th. I believe that they've released the 8th edition. But remember that if you can find an earlier edition online, I have found that for the most part, these are still perfectly good to use in preparing for the exams. The same is true for an introduction to geomatics, elementary surveying. I mentioned the 14th edition. Earlier editions are available. I have the 12th edition sitting here on my desk right now. I got that online for a very reasonable price, and it came to me in excellent condition. I thought at first maybe somebody had bought it, decided that they really didn't want a career in surveying, and there you are. But it's in great shape, and so I've used it for a couple of years now. The second one that is a must-have for boundary people are evidence and boundary procedures for boundary location. Again, the book originally was from Curtis Brown, who basically he's long departed us now, but he is still the most cited reference, his work in court cases and everything else. So you need to have some familiarity with it. But there are, you can see other excellent publications that are going to help you along the way. If you don't have all of them, pick a few. Like I said, the definitions of surveying and associated terms. It's not listed here, but Red Cross Manual, and then one other excellent textbook that you can study and take with you into the exam. Okay, so no matter where you are on your professional continuum, the CST can be an important component in burnishing your credentials, in making you more valuable to your current employer or prospective future employer. And it also tells everyone that you're serious about this, that this is more than a paycheck to you, that this is something that you're ready to make a commitment to and progress in. So again, I can't guarantee you're going to pass the exam, and I wouldn't even venture into that area. But I want to tell you that we want to help you get to where you need to be in order to pass these exams on the first try, and to help prepare you for subsequent exams, and even eventually to help you prepare for the fundamentals of surveying if you're moving in that direction. Again, these are nationally recognized certifications that you will find opens doors for you. If you feel you're stuck, and you may be in the profession and you've been doing the same thing for 6 years, and you just want to move forward in your career, great. Let's keep progressing through the materials, through the levels. Let's get you certified, and you're going to find that it's going to benefit both you and your prospective or current employer in the longer run. So my emails are available either on the site. I can give it to you right now. It's Glenn.Thorough. That's GLEN.Thorough, THUROW. The spelling's on the beginning slide here. At LearnCST.com. You can also email instructor@LearnCST.com, and that'll get to me as well. You are invited to request office hours if you want to set up a one-on-one, or you can participate in those chat sessions and learn from your other students as well. On the site there are forums, topic forums that we can use to dig deeper into these topics. So there's a vast array of things that can be used to help you, and I hope that you will avail yourself. So I'm hoping that during this presentation you've thought of some questions that you'd like to answer, and you submitted them, or you can submit them now. We have a few minutes left here. We've saved some time for questions. So Alan, I'm going to hand this back over to you. Do we have any questions that I might respond to?
Yes, Glenn. No, thank you for that. And again, folks, we hope that was informative and helpful. Can you clarify, Glenn? We've gotten this at the beginning and after now. Just clarify how often. So can you submit to take the exam or request to take the exam at any time? Is it once a quarter? How often can you take it?
Well, I think quarterly is the recommended time period, particularly if it's paper and pencil. It will be another quarter before you're given the opportunity. If you're doing a retake on the exam, you have to resubmit the application. You have to, and that's going to take a little bit of time to get your resubmittal approved. But I believe that you can take it once a quarter. And so, you could take it up to 4 times during the course of a year. But again, remember, it's going to be $180 every time you take the exam. So I think what we want to do is get you to pass on that first attempt by adequately preparing you. Hello?
Yes. Yep,
Yeah.
still there. Hey, good. No worries. You fell off for a second.
Okay.
So we had a good question regarding the split at level 3 between the party chief boundary and construction on level 3. Do you have to basically, I believe it's a question regarding paying twice. Do you have to pay 2 times? Is that 2 exams? Once you get into those splits, I know with office and field, indeed, it is 2 different arrangements. But on level 3, party chief boundary, is that 2 separate things or 2 separate entities? Or
I believe it's 2 separate exams that you, and it does require 2 applications that you're going to specify one or the other, and then if you want to go the other route at some future point, then you're going to have to reapply again for the other branch. So you are being asked to make a decision at that point. Nothing precludes you again from doing both, but you're not going to get both in the same examination.
Right, gotcha. Similar or from the same fellow, is the HP 35S acceptable for the exam? Do you know that?
Yeah, the HP 35, I believe it is, as long as it does not have any internet connection or infrared connections, can take a picture or run a program. Now, I'm not totally familiar with the HP 35, but what I would do is look at the calculator and look at the policy and just see if the 2 line up. One of the calculators I use is the HP 33S, and that is a very good scientific calculator. It's reverse Polish, most HP calculators, and as opposed to algebraic. There's nothing wrong with algebraic except that I've grown up with using the HP Polish notation calculators. So these HP 33s, they're excellent calculators, and they can be purchased rather inexpensively. So again, I'm not totally familiar with every calculator, as I mentioned earlier, but just look at your calculator, and if it has any kind of a standard keyboard or has any internet connection or infrared connection, then you're not going to be able to use it. So just keep that in mind. Carefully read that policy and then look at your particular calculator. That's not to say that HP is the only one. I mean, Casio makes excellent calculators that can be used. And if you have an algebraic calculator, that's fine too. It doesn't have to be reverse Polish notation. but make sure that it is a scientific calculator and not a financial calculator. Believe it or not, I have had instances where a student came in to take an exam and it was a financial calculator and it did not contain the capability of converting from degrees, minutes, seconds to decimal degrees or the trigonometric functions. Your phone probably doesn't have that, and you couldn't use it anyway because it's against policy. So I can't answer every question about every calculator, whether it's going to qualify or not, but just keep that policy in mind. Look at the calculator you're contemplating using. Look at the policy. Are the two harmonious together?
Yes, no, absolutely. And I wanted to state that we're working to come out, the focus, and Glenn, we've talked a lot about this, but the focus with Learn CST isn't just the training. We're working to refine and just, your time is valuable, folks, we get it, and we want to address stuff like calculator policy the best way possible. We're going to come out with a couple, not requirements, but recommendations for calculators. We're going to refine that portion of our manual in the coming quarter with some additional tips and just some examples of, like Glenn just mentioned, calculators that would work and why. So regarding other topics that we intend to address, yeah, Glenn, I think you outlined that we're going to stick with the work elements and work from work element to work element through each level, but we are indeed going to offer additional workbooks for drones, machine control, laser scanning, CAD. We have a basic book for the PLSS and meets and bounds now, but that's going to be refined in the coming quarters to a individual download, something you can address specifically. We don't want to stray from the work elements, but Glenn, I believe you already covered most of that. So
right, and the work elements, even though some of them may read a little bit dated, particularly the description of the work element, keep in mind that the exams are evolving, and they are updating the exams to be more technologically relevant. So don't let the old descriptions on the work elements deceive you. Just keep in mind that these exams evolve as time goes on, and try to reflect the current state of technology in the industry.
Absolutely. A suggestion for more video, absolutely. Our goal has long been to offer a video for each element. Of course, that's quite an undertaking and quite a production, but we've already got some quality stuff up from a technology angle that I believe, Glenn, you have that posted a few of the Construction 2020 videos in level 3.
Yeah, in level 3 on photogrammetry, there's one. There's another one, LiDAR. And those are identified, and they're short videos, very informative, and we hope to have more of this kind of thing on the site as time goes on.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, we can't stray too much from the work elements. I mean, you still have to, we want to guide you as to what to expect on the CST exam, but we know that we hear you loud and clear that you want this additional content. We just don't want to confuse that with what you'll see on the exam. So I believe we've made that clear, hopefully so. Glenn, can you take the exam outside the United States, or is it available to folks outside the U.S.?
If you are in the service and you are stationed at a U.S. installation somewhere, you can arrange to have the exam administered there. If you are a foreign student, you are going to need to submit an application that's going to satisfy the testing requirements. But I would suggest this. If you are a foreign student, contact me, and let's see where you're at and what we might be able to do in helping to set up the exam in your particular area. I know I have students in Afghanistan. I have one in Egypt. And their question is, can I become certified in the U.S. By taking the exam now? I'm not sure what their future plans are, but I don't see anything that would exclude a foreign national. Again, it's just making the suitable arrangements that are going to be satisfactory to the board the CST board in order to set up that exam. So we're going to have to handle that on a basic case-by-case basis.
Absolutely. And speaking of case by case, we're right up against the deadline here, the time, 2 o'clock. So the hour went quickly. Thank you, folks, for sitting in. These additional suggestions it's a bunch of good stuff that we can address directly, or of course work to phase in. But Glenn, anything else before we wrap up?
No, I just wanted to thank everyone for participating today. Hopefully you found today being beneficial.
Indeed. Thank you so much, folks. We value your time. Look for the follow-up tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Thank you again.